If you've seen any of the multitude of social media content about visiting the Amalfi coast, you might expect a beachy, pasta-filled paradise. And you'd be right. But even in paradise, plans can sometimes go off the rails. As I watched the deluge cascade down on us, I figured, what are the odds this Italian guy we met 3 days ago was going to come all the way from Naples to pick us up like he promised? Would he even be able to get through? Why does traveling so often require putting your complete faith in total strangers? Positano was our last stop on a 3-country tour for our honeymoon. As such, it was probably the least well-planned part of our trip. I didn't even know how we were getting there from Naples until 2 days earlier when I called a number I found online in France and spoke, with a poor connection, to an Italian driver named Dodi. When we landed Monday morning in Naples, I wasn't even sure he would be there. But he was. Not only did he take us as promised to Positano, he even brought us to see a limoncello factory. Very cool. Knowing we would need a ride back to the airport early in the morning in a few days, I asked if he would be up to the task, and he agreed. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, I need a backup plan in case he doesn't end up coming through for us. But I didn't have anyone else, and I didn't want to spend the last few days of my vacation Googling. So I decided, in Dodi we trust. Poor planning in a popular tourist city usually doesn't end in getting a seat at a great restaurant. But that night we arrived at the Hotel California's restaurant, Don Giovanni. Because it was quite early, and perhaps because I can speak some Italian, the hostess agreed to seat us without a reservation. Wanting to enjoy a nice Italian wine, but having no idea where to start with the menu, I asked the waiter for a recommendation.
Mi puoi fare una raccomandazione per un vino bianco?
Sì, bottiglia?
Sì, sì.
Come gradite, più secco, più fruttato?
Più fruttato, qualcosa che è facile da bere, qualcosa che...
Locale di questa regione?
Sì, sì.
Adesso vi faccio assaggiare qualcosa.
I was nervous he would bring us something we wouldn't like, and even more nervous about what we'd be paying for the bottle. But what we got was one of the most delicious local wines we'd had on our whole trip, for a price that was, as far as Positano is concerned, pretty reasonable. Oh, and the food was pretty amazing too. One of the few things I had planned in advance was a boat trip around the Amalfi coast. I really booked the boat for only one reason, because my wife and I wanted to swim in the Mediterranean off the boat. So when our boat captain told us he would take us for a stop in the town center of Amalfi, I initially told him we weren't interested. But the captain strongly encouraged me to reconsider, and with a little coaxing from my wife, I decided to follow the captain's orders. And I'm really glad we did. We not only got to see a beautifully iconic little town, we got to try this delicious regional treat, sorbetto limone.
Vogliamo una sorbetto?
Oh my god, so good.
The only other thing I'd planned for this trip was also because I listened to strangers' advice about seeing other cities besides Positano. We embarked on an hour-long journey to have dinner at a fancy hotel in Ravello. I would have gone straight to the restaurant, especially because there was quite a bit of traffic getting there. But we started talking to our driver, who recommended we see Ravello first.
Della musica.
Ma musica, sì?
Non so se fanno qualche serata stasera.
Okay.
And once again, I'm glad we decided to listen to his advice. Because even though there was no live music, the quaint town atmosphere made an already super romantic evening that much more magical. We even got to say a prayer for our loved ones at a local church. And it certainly helped that dinner was truly spectacular. A beautiful seaside restaurant, a delectable and intriguing tasting menu selected by the chef, truly a night to remember thanks to the hospitality of many local people. But Mother Nature can be a bit less hospitable. Three hours before our flight was scheduled to leave Naples, itself at least an hour drive away, Positano was hit by a storm whose violence rivaled few others I'd lived through. And there we were, in a remote part of a land far from home, our wildest hopes and dreams resting in the hands of a man I'd met once barely a week ago. Wherefore art thou, Dodi? As promised and right on time, Dodi came through. It is not always easy, it's certainly not always comfortable. But what is travel if not a departure from your domain and all the power and certainty attached to it? And it was this trip that made me realize, when you put your faith and trust in the locals, in people you've paid to help you, you will more often than not be rewarded. So loosen your grip on the wheel just a little and let the professionals take care of you on your next trip.